Welcome to the TJAY TV podcast, only on Spotify, Google, and A3 Media on YouTube. How are we doing today? Happy Thursday. We are going to be doing the top 5 interviews of 2024. And before I start with the top 5 interviews, I want to thank everyone who participated actually for the podcast throughout the year of 2024, because we had a bunch of them. And I mean, we really had some good interviews, but I could only narrow it down to 5. Now, starting next year for the final episode of TJAY TV, we will be doing the top 10 interviews of all time, which that's going to be a little bit later down the line, and that's a different story for a different day. But in any event, yeah, we're going to be doing the top 5 interviews of 2024. But before we do all that, if you're new, make sure you smash a like on Spotify, follow me there, Google Podcast, A3 Media on YouTube, and you can go to my other YouTube channel, TJ's Productions, and check out every video I've done from 2018 all the way to now. And I'm actually doing the Florida series because 2 years ago I went to Florida and I never posted these videos on YouTube or anything just because I just didn't feel like it. But every video that I have from traveling with Tori, like when my wife Tori and I travel, we pretty much just film like a lot of places that we go and travel to, honestly. But in any event, yeah, we're going to get on with this. The top 5 interviews of 2025. And like I said, I had to narrow it down to 5. This is what I do every year. But I want to say hi to the guy behind the board. You can come on the mic for a second. It's that mic. Oh, what's your name? Eric. So Eric is actually training to be a producer, so he's running my show. And are you on the host one? Oh, yeah, go on the host mic. You can do that. The one next to it, to your left. Yep.
How about that? Ah, there we go. That's more like it. Now I don't have to snap my finger holding down the talkback button the whole time.
Yeah, so basically, Eric has been here. How long have you been here at DB?
At DB, like 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Yeah.
How do you like it so far?
It's something. I mean, I used to intern for Preston and Steve, so I kind of got used to sort of the FM world, more specifically, the kind of more chaotic, everything's moving, really fast. But here it's a little more mellow. There's a diverse amount of people.
Really?
And just like in terms of like the different hosts, right? Because like the FM stations, they got like 3 or 4 people. At here, it's someone new every single hour. There's all these different personalities. You get to know all these people. So it's definitely something different, but still something good at the same time.
I will say the FM world is a lot different than the AM world, honestly. There are a lot of things that go into, Preston and Steve or Matt Cord or whoever. Because when I first started in radio, when I was, probably doing what you're doing right now, actually, I started as a promotions assistant, but when I first started doing radio, I didn't know how much prep and how much work gets put into it beforehand. I thought you just go in and talk randomly like most people would do for a podcast.
Well, if it tells you anything, when I was a little kid and my dad used to listen to Preston and Steve on the way to morning care, I thought it was just a bunch of guys standing in a circle with microphones. Like, I thought that was the whole thing. Black rooms sitting on stools with microphones, but no, it is far from that.
Yeah, it's weird that, like, it's weird that like a lot of work does go in, but you do think of it as a different, different things. Like you said, I can't think of the word. Can't think of what I'm trying to say honestly, but
there's a difference there in perception.
Yes.
Because what you hear is not what's going through your head. It's like a theater of the mind thing that they always talk about.
Did you do any radio beforehand, like in college?
I've done student radio because I went to Monco, got my associates there. So I did Monco radio, shout out to Matt Porter. And then I did WHIP with Temple, where I am graduating this Wednesday from.
This Wednesday? Wow, really?
Graduation ceremony is on Wednesday, yep.
Wow. Are you excited?
Yes. Yeah. I normally you'd say excited, but nervous. I'm not even nervous because this has been like a 4 or 5 year college journey for me. So thank God it's ending.
Well, a lot of people that work here actually went to Temple.
Yeah, I found that out. I did not realize like how complex of a Temple network it is. And even the professors I had at Temple, people knew who they were. I had a professor from my immediate business class. His name is Steve Butler. He was KYW's program director. And in the class, he's like, well, who's doing internships right now? And I was doing Preston Steve. I said, oh, I'm an MMR. And he goes, oh, do you know Bill Weston? And I said, of course I know Bill Weston. So then I come in, I say, hey, Bill, do you know Steve Butler? And he goes, I love Steve Butler. So it's, people say it's a small world, but once you actually start networking in places, you realize just how tiny it is.
Yeah. Well, Kincaid teaches there too.
Does he teach there?
Yeah.
Because when I was there, they talked about him teaching a class, and I was like, sweet. I don't think I ever made it to one of his classes because every time I tried to look for it, I couldn't find it.
Yeah. So a lot of people that work at the Fanatic went to Kincaid's class, which is pretty interesting.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
And that's why they did like some temple takeover type deal where I want to say Kincaid and then a few other people that went to Temple were talking to students there about a year ago, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
That's actually something on my bucket list. So my school, before I get on with the top 5 interviews, so my school, we do this thing called What's Your Passion Project. And basically kids who graduated from all different types of background, job backgrounds or whatever, we go to the school and we talk to kids who have a passion about what they want to do. But I've always got invited. I just don't know what I'm going to tell kids. Like, oh, you want to be in radio? Well, this is what I did, but this is how I feel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't want to steer them the wrong way.
Right. Yeah.
But that's just my personal opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I've voiced my opinions on this show multiple times about how I think it should go when it comes to going to college. Like, if you want to be a doctor, go to college. But if you want to do something with radio, go to a technical school. Or if you just want the degree, go to college, whatever. I mean,
I come from a family that's like mixed, both people who have like master's degrees and then people who've never been to college, never stepped foot in a college, but they're very accomplished like tradespeople. So I've seen both sides of it, and yeah, I've championed that all the time. I have plenty of friends haven't gone to school at all, but they're extremely successful in technical or industry fields of some kind.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I went to college for 2 years, got my associates, and then I went to university, and I just dropped. I said, I'm done. I dropped out because I wasn't learning anything. Like, I was literally sitting in class, and we're learning stuff from 1990, and I'm like, this is so irrelevant. Like, when am I ever going to learn, use this knowledge from the 90s?
Yeah. See, I cheated the system and did mostly remote classes, so I never had to sit there and be bored. I just had to be on my laptop and be bored, taking 50 million quizzes and doing discussion boards every week. That was my hack to getting a bachelor's degree.
How was what was your favorite class?
Probably that media business course that I mentioned before is up there. I took a writing workshop class because I love writing that I really liked. Pretty much a lot of my courses writing intensive, so that was a perfect direction for me. But probably, I'm gonna stick by the media business one just because it was so informative. My concentration's in media business, so it's the class that I really needed. Got to meet some cool people there. I forget his name off the top of my head, but there was a guest speaker who had worked on shows like Stranger Things and everything. So really interesting class, especially as someone who came from originally a film background and transitioned into doing audio and radio. It was really cool to see the middle ground between the two of those. Yeah,
that is pretty cool. Who was the guy from Stranger Things? So was it Sean Levy or?
No, it was someone who he had worked on. I say worked on Stranger Things. I think he was involved in early production of it.
Gotcha.
He's mostly producer role, so he's worked on a bunch of stuff. He produced NCIS for a majority of its lifespan. Yeah, I mean that show's still going on. I think 30 years or something. But
yeah, that's pretty cool though.
Yeah, I think it's Sean. I don't think it's Sean Levy, but I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's a cool thing, just to put on your resume. I actually, so you ever do Comic-Con at all?
I want to go to Comic-Con so bad. You don't understand how bad I've been wanting to go to. Two of my buddies went to Fan Expo this past year, and they were just going, right? These were guys I had just become friends with. Because we used to work together. They come in and they go, dude, we should have invited you. They saw so many cool things. I was like, what? Come on. I want to see that.
You ever see Walking Dead?
I've seen parts of Walking Dead,
You know who Scott Wilson is? Herschel?
You met Herschel?
I met Herschel.
You met Herschel.
Yes. I met Frankie Muniz. Who else did I meet? Because I used to work at the Marriott down on Market Street in Philly. But that's where everybody would be at. That's where every every big star from Comic-Con would just come and chill there. So Frankie Muniz, Herschel, and somebody else. There were a few other people I met, but I will never forget. There was this one guest. He was like, man, all these actors are coming in this hotel thinking they're the shit, this, that, and the third. And then Scott Wilson just walks past. He was like, oh, my God, Scott Wilson, it's so great to meet you, man. I'm like, you just told me so hard how much you hated these actors.
Yeah. Yeah, one of my coworkers at Valley of Fear, which is the haunted house I do every fall, his name's Scott. He's worked like security jobs for conventions and stuff, and he's got all kinds of crazy stories.
So you do a haunted attraction type deal?
Yeah, it's called Valley of Fear. It's in Feasterville. Obviously, it's a seasonal thing. It's every fall. Just started this past season. It's like my new addiction now. Like I'm still like I still hang out with all those people. It's like a really tight group. But yeah, it's like every week I'm thinking of new stuff I want to do for my character, and just like because they're always talking about the stuff they're doing next season. Oh my God, it's like my new thing now. I don't shut up about it.
No, I love Halloween. I got married on Halloween.
You got married on Halloween?
Got married on Halloween.
You know what's surprising? There's like 3 people that were. I mean, it's not surprising. There's 3 people that work there, like roughly, I think, who once get married on Halloween or have been married on Halloween.
Yeah, I mean, Halloween and horror are my favorite type of videos. So everyone who listens to the podcast knows what I do, but I do. Do you believe in ghosts?
I believe in evidence of ghosts.
So
if that answers your question.
Okay. What about UFOs and aliens?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Drake equation. I mean, come on. There's no way to us really humans, the only intelligent life forms in the entire universe. I don't buy it whatsoever.
Well, and you also got the drones, pretty much just.
Yeah, the drone thing is so weird, and like the fact that the FBI, I think, or someone said don't shoot them, and I was like, why? Why don't you want us to shoot them, FBI? What's wrong?
I read something today about the Pentagon saying that they're not from humans, pretty much.
Yeah, and the fact that they found like something underwater, right? It was some kind of evidence of alien life forms underwater.
Yeah.
How do they know that though?
Because I don't know.
They just because like it's funny because like we're so desensitized to everything that people are like, scientists are like, oh, there's actual evidence of aliens underwater. Everyone's like, all right, so what?
Yeah.
Who cares? Like, we've been new, dude. Come on.
Yeah. It's crazy, too, because, like, a lot of people are non-believers about aliens and ghosts and stuff. But the FBI, or I'm sorry, not that, the Pentagon put out footage in 2020. I don't know if you remember that.
I do remember this, yeah.
And I called into a radio show before I got into the radio, and they were like, well, all these videos of the UFOs are always hazy, and you can't really see them. I'm like, but the Pentagon released them.
Right, yeah.
You can't just say, oh, it's fake.
Yeah, if it was, conspiracy.theorist on some subreddit, you'd be like, okay, doctored, photoshopped, probably AI generated, source filmmaker, whatever. But no, if it's the Pentagon, then yeah, you might want to believe it, even though, there's all kinds of shady stuff.
Yeah, no, it's just horrible. I mean, so back on the whole ghost thing real quick as well. I'm a big believer in ghosts. I believe in ghosts. I've had experiences. I do a show on my own show on YouTube called Unexplainable.
Okay.
And I do unexplainable things, pretty much like ghost stuff. I have this app on my phone where it's kind of like a spirit box type deal. And I've caught some stuff, but like I just post a video just because I post it. But when it comes to Ouija boards, I made my own Ouija board, and there's actually evidence that I'll show you in a little bit. This is a true story. I put it was like a quarter as a planchette. I just put it on the Ouija board inside my car, and I asked it a question, and it moved by itself. Like it's pretty like it's kind of scary just to think about.
It's funny because I've come to learn that at least at where I work, especially like my supervisors, the people who have been doing this a long time, they're the biggest sissies in the world when it comes to Ouija boards and like spirit boxes and everything.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys are the ones dressing up as psychopathic clowns every weekend in the fall, torturing people, and you're freaked out by a Ouija board, and then I'm the one that's like picking it up and you're like, oh my God, it's so awful.
Well, Ouija boards are like, I haven't played a real one because I'm afraid of what could happen.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. Like, I believe a lot of that stuff, but I'm not intimidated by it personally.
Right.
That's just where it falls for me. Like, I see the evidence of ghosts and everything. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I'm also the guy that's gonna be an a-hole when I'm trying to play a Ouija board, because for at least as of now, I just don't fear the consequences of it. Now, 3 years from now, if there's like locusts flying around my house, then I'm gonna know it's legit.
There's one thing, and I'm not gonna disrespect them, because I have a big fear of dolls, like Robert the doll. You ever hear about him?
Yes, yeah, and like the actual Annabelle doll. Yeah.
So there are these YouTubers, Sam and Colby.
Oh, I know Sam and Colby. Yeah.
They visited all 3 dolls, and they were like, "Yeah, you could look at it, but there could be consequences."
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, through a computer screen? So I didn't look because I'm very superstitious about that shit.
Yeah.
So it kind of just it freaks me out. But I would never disrespect Robert the doll or anybody. But
We love you, Robert the doll. We're not disrespecting you. We love you.
But I want to see one of my friends who's a non-believer disrespect him. This is just to see,
Yeah.
just to see what if it actually is a real thing. I believe it is,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm also skeptical when it comes to certain things like that.
I mean, I buy it. Yeah, why not? Cursed doll, sure.
Well, that actually brings me up to my first point, and once I talk about number 5, honestly, we're going to take a quick break. But so I'll keep you on the mic real quick. So top 5 favorite interviews of 2024. There was this guy named Terrell Dorsey. He's number 5, and because I interviewed him last week, and he did a movie called Sawmill Road. And,
I know the name.
Well, there's a road called Sawmill Road in Downingtown, where I live in Westchester, and it's like 25 minutes away. Apparently, on the road, it was kind of like, Amityville Horror with Ronald DeFeo?
Yeah.
So Ronald DeFeo basically, the story, he killed his whole family because he said there were voices in his head and whatever. Anyways, on Sawmill Road, there was a house exactly like that. This guy was hearing voices in his head, and he murdered his entire family. So Terrell, he made the video, and he was just like, all right, let's just see what Sawmill Road's all about. He drove on the road. He told me that his car was acting up. All the lights came on his car. His car kept, stalling. And he decided, well, I'm going to make a movie about it. So he made a movie about Sawmill Road. He interviewed a lot of people who've witnessed some weird shit on the road. Like, for instance, he said there were cult members on the road doing a sacrifice. And
Human or animal?
Human.
That's even scarier than what I had pictured.
So basically, he said that back in the 90s and 2000s, his friends were just driving on the road, and they saw smoke just coming up from the trees. So they went to go investigate. And they saw guys in black cloaks doing a ritual, and they ran back to their car, and they drove out, and the guys were just chasing them down the road.
My sister and one of her friends, they were going to Jersey, to the shore, right, kind of like Ocean City, Sea Isle area. It was we used to have a house in Seaville. They were going through the Pine Barrens, kind of close to that area. Now they're going, and my sister swears that she saw someone dragging a body bag or something in their front lawn.
Really?
Burying something. She swears that she saw it. That night or the next morning on the news, they reported a murder, and they found the body buried in a front yard. So she's fully convinced it was, because I'm pretty sure it was the same rough area. So my sister most likely saw someone trying to cover up a murder.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's even creepier than...
I don't know. I think watching a human sacrifice is probably worse.
I think it would be, but the fact that these people were in black cloaks, just chasing you, that's scary. You play Resident Evil at all?
I've played, yeah.
Do you know the castle scene with the people in the black cloaks?
I think so. Yeah.
That's what that's how I envision that. But yeah, so he's number 5 on my list just because of Sawmill Road, the history behind it, and he was also telling me he's going to make some other documentaries about the Twin Tunnels and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But here's what we're going to do. Let's take a break. We'll take a break.
Okay.
We'll come back, and see you in a couple minutes. Who is this?
If you're familiar with The Descendants at all, this is their song Good Good Things, but it's by a hardcore band called Drain.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like it.
Thank you.
It's different. See, with my song selection, I just pick songs from my iPhone, honestly, just because I've had these songs for years. So I usually just pick one that I haven't used, but
Well, so you told me, you said I need like 30 seconds initially. So I'm like, okay. So I start scrolling through. I have this playlist that's just like, it's especially like a workout playlist kind of thing.
Right.
It's mostly just like my metal music playlist, to be honest. And I'm scrolling through. I'm like, what's like something I've been listening to? Because normally like I can get the timing better. And I was like, boom, it's right there. It just, I could see it. It like, there was like a glow around it in my head. I'm like, that's the one. Because I remembered the bass line and I remembered that it just kicks up. So I was like, perfect.
yeah, no, I enjoyed that. That was a good song. So on my phone, I have everything from rock to hardcore rap to country to pop. I listen to everything.
So I have Apple Music and Spotify. I have free Spotify because I have a family plan for Apple Music, right, in my household. My Apple Music catalog, there's a beach playlist, okay, that I made for my family. It's classic rock. It's like this sort of like old acoustic, like old-timey songs, you know, like there's Stand By Me, you know, the songs like my grandfather used to listen to.
Right.
My metal playlist, I have a playlist that's just music that just makes me feel like the main character. Like literally that's what I called it. And then I have a playlist that's mostly meant to like mellow me out, or if I'm like, you know, if I'm having like a restless night, I need music to listen to.
Yeah.
So it's like vaporwave and all this stuff that's like super trippy to listen to, but it puts me right to sleep.
Do you like psychedelic music?
I haven't quite ventured into any of that specifically. Or when you say psychedelic music, who does that encompass?
What was that band? There was a band I did a project on. I can't remember the band's name. That's going to bug me.
I say it's not Grateful Dead.
No, it's not Grateful Dead.
I hear psychedelic and I more think like kind of like hippies and stuff. Like that's what I think of.
Let me see if I can find this song real quick, because I remember the band and the Growlers.
I do not know who that is.
You don't know? So the Growlers is like modern day psychedelic, honestly.
Okay.
And they're pretty good. I mean, I like them. I did a project on them, and for my history of rock and roll class.
History of rock and roll.
Yeah.
I wish I could have taken a class like that.
So apparently in Westchester University and the community college I went to, there are two different types of history of rock and roll. There was one history of rock and roll class where it's just you learn about music and how to write music, and then there was another one where it's just strictly the history of rock and roll. So I learned about Buddy Holly and all the guys, all the way up to like the American Idol days, pretty much.
The only history of rock class that existed at Temple, as far as I know, was one specifically about Elvis.
Really?
It was like, you know, the life of Elvis or something. I don't care about Elvis.
He was the best.
That's all they say. They just like, oh, king of rock and roll. Have you actually listened to his songs?
Yes.
They're very much a product of their time, just in terms of composition, instrumentals, you know. How many times can you hear "Ain't nothing but a hound dog" and think it's like it still holds up? Like it's a good old timey song. It's not something that should be like immortalized, in my opinion. That's just me though. I'm also someone that does not like Pink Floyd or the Beatles, so maybe I'm just counterculture everything when it comes to classic bands and artists. I'm
gonna have you on, and we'll just have like a music show and like in the new year.
I'll be here for it. I'll be here.
But I'm going to go on to number 4 of the top 5 interviews of 2024. Kai Howard. So Kai Howard is a basketball player, but he plays overseas. He's a professional basketball player that plays overseas, and he told me that his dad was a famous basketball player that played for the Knicks, I believe. I did this interview so long ago, but from what I remember, he said his dad was a famous basketball player. He didn't make it to the NBA, but he flew overseas to play professional basketball over there, and we had a good conversation. I thought it was a really good interview. So he's number 4 on my list. Number 3, we're going to go with this, Kelly Lang. Now, Kelly Lang, do you know who Kelly Lang is?
The only Lang I know is Scott Lang, the second Ant-Man from the Marvel movies.
Who's the first Ant-Man?
Hank Pym.
Who's that? Oh, never mind.
Michael Douglas's character.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've seen Ant-Man.
See, this is what I meant when I said I should go to a Comic-Con. This is the information I was talking about. My brain is an entire database of just superhero information.
I used to have useless knowledge about a lot of a lot of music back when I was a kid.
I still have that now. Like the problem is that it's not that I'm more than anything. What I'm doing is think of my brain as a terabyte extension hard drive. I'm just moving it somewhere else so that more information can just like keep coming in.
Wow.
That's how I think. That's how I think of how my head works, and that's why I can just randomly spew out nonsense in any social situation.
Oh, there you go. Anyways, Kelly Lang, though, so she is a singer, songwriter, producer, whatever. She worked with Olivia Newton-John, Paul Schaefer, pretty much anybody who's musically inclined you could think of, she's probably worked with. She lives in Nashville, and my favorite thing about her, we were talking, and we started talking about Kid Rock, because she's a big fan of Kid Rock, and she's friends with him. So she said, Kid Rock...
I'm going to reserve any judgment I have until this story is over.
Well, she was saying, like, Kid Rock, he has no filter. You know how he is.
Oh, yeah.
And in any event, Kid Rock went with Kelly Lang and her husband. They went to the Grand Ole Opry. Now, that's a bucket list thing I want to go there. But apparently, the Grand Ole Opry is very strict. You can't say certain words. So, like, she's like, please don't curse or say anything. He was like, I have no filter. I'll say whatever I want. So he said whatever he wants. They didn't get banned. They got praised because everybody loves Kid Rock in Nashville. So she went.
Thank you for adding the in Nashville part. That's a nice little asterisk to that sentence.
So then she went to Kid Rock's house. They vacation with him every now and then. He has a gold toilet. And the one thing I thought was kind of interesting, she said, no matter what you think of the president, Donald Trump, whether you like him or hate him, the cool thing that I saw was he got a call from Putis, which is Donald Trump, and he had a full-on conversation, and we got to talk to Trump on the phone, which was pretty cool. That's why I named her number 3, just because of that little history she had right there.
Yeah, no, for certain, yeah.
And that's what I always say, like, no matter what you think of the president, whether you like him or hate him, it's kind of cool to have whoever you're interviewing on. Like, for example, Howard Stern had Joe Biden on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Not a big fan of Joe Biden, but I listened to the interview because that's something cool, have a president on. Same with Kamala Harris.
Absolutely, yeah.
He had an interview with her. And then Rogan...
That's how I felt at when they did Camp Out. They had the mayor of Philadelphia. And, like, I'm not super well-versed in local politics, but I know a lot of people have opinions about her. Yeah. But for her to have been there, and for even our governor as well, like, even for those important people to be there who are divisive in their own ways and people have opinions about them, for them to have shown up to begin with and for people to have cheered for them and greeted them and everything, like, that is what we need more than anything. And like you said, just to have that history of, oh yeah, I met Governor Shapiro at the Camp Out for Hunger. Like, that's just like a nice little story.
Yeah, exactly. So I emailed, do you remember Tom Wolfe?
Yes. So
during the COVID crisis, 4 years ago. Was it 4 years ago? Yeah, 4 years ago.
Oof, don't remind me.
I actually had a chance to interview Tom Wolfe because I emailed him and I said, hey, like, I want to talk to you about restrictions, what your plan is, what we're going to do to get through this. And he said, yeah, like his team said, we'll have him on soon. And we just never got to it because of scheduling and obviously COVID and all that. So that would have been a cool thing for me. That's actually one thing on my bucket list, to interview a governor in either in local politics or a president of the United States.
I mean, look, if Shapiro's going to show up to Camp Out for Hunger, I think you're adjacent enough that it could, it's transitive property, 6 degrees of separation. I think it works.
Well, I was thinking of emailing him, but I don't know when the actual race, like, I don't know how it works for, like, governors. Like, is it like a 4-year term or 8-year term? I'm not sure how that really works.
I don't think anyone knows, honestly. And that's kind of a problem, including myself.
I've looked it up, but, So Josh Shapiro was actually on Missinelli's show a couple days ago.
Was he really?
Yeah, he was.
Huh, I did not know that.
Me neither.
Interesting.
I thought it was pretty cool.
No, that is cool, yeah.
Because I know Missinelli's a big Shapiro guy. Mm-hmm. He's a big liberal, mm-hmm. which, it's fine. I don't knock anybody for their political, who they support. But yeah, Kelly Lang was actually a really fun interview. Big fan of Kid Rock, good friend of Kid Rock. I've heard a lot of stories about Kid Rock's bar.
He has a bar?
Yeah, he has a bar.
I mean, like every other celebrity has like a bar or a restaurant, but I didn't know he had one.
I think he has like 2.
Interesting. Is it one of those like really punny names that people come up with?
I don't know.
Because there's some really funny like pun-based restaurant names that exist out there. But there's also some random ones like I think Jesse Ventura had restaurants for a while. I know, like it's a lot of wrestling stuff that I know off the top of my head, but like it's so random. I think Dusty Rhodes had like a barbecue joint in like the 80s. Like how? Like I know Kid Rock's like basically, I think he is a billionaire, but like how in the world does he have a restaurant chain?
You'd be surprised. There are a lot of people, a lot of celebrities that have bars out there too.
That's true. Yeah, there's a lot of them.
Yeah, I mean, I want to go. My mom went to Kid Rock's bar, but I want to go just to meet them. I don't care about the bar. I want to meet these people.
I don't care about your buffalo wings. I don't care about your draft beer. I'm here for Kid Rock.
Yeah, that's what I'm there for. Number 2 for my top 5 interviews of 2024, Robbie Johnson. Now, Robbie Johnson, upcoming country singer. And we were talking and how he makes his music, he plays it in his head.
Is there a little tiny Robbie Johnson in there strumming a 6-string?
So, like, that's how he explains it. Like, he actually, like, listens to, like, whatever catches his ear or, like, he'll think of a song, he'll write it down because, like, it's going through his brain that he has to play this.
Yeah.
And that it's going to be a hit. And he did it for his grandmother, because his grandparents were a big influence in his life when he was growing up, which I thought was pretty cool. Because that's how my grandparents were. They were a big influence in my life.
Same thing for me, yeah, 100%.
Like, growing up, you probably don't notice, I lived with my grandmother for 3 months every summer up in the Poconos. And, she was a big influence, you know?
Yeah, well, like I was saying before, like the place we had in Seville, and having Stand By Me in my beach playlist, that's all my grandfather.
Yeah
it's insane. He passed a few years ago, but it's insane just how much of an impact. I mean, obviously your Javon Melly years and your grandparents, but how many people out there say that their grandparents are their influences? Like, it's an astronomical number.
Yeah, it's
probably like a 90-10 ratio of people who cite a grandparent of some kind as an influence.
Yeah, exactly. With Robbie though, he also tells me his mind is your mind is a powerful thing. So like he was thinking of something one time and it actually happened, which basically, he said like, "Oh, I'm gonna fall down these stairs," or he thought about like him falling down these stairs, fell down the stairs, like pretty much something like that.
I think he's in the wrong business. I don't think he should be a country singer. I think he needs to be like a fortune teller.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I mean, but the one thing I liked about him, he kind of reminded me of Travis Pastrana. Like, he looks exactly like Travis Pastrana right here in this photo. But I just liked him. I mean, his story was great. He had a good story. He talked about a lot about his music, his grandparents, his family. So I think he's number 2. I'm going to leave him there at number 2. Now, number 1, we're going to take a quick break about that. I want to think about that for a minute because, like I said, there's a lot of interviews. There's one person, there's like 1 or 2 people I have to like, I have in a bracket that I'm like playing in my head that I can't think about. But, yeah. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back and we'll see you in a few seconds. Wow.
Dude, I love Throne. They're so good. I saw them live with Wage War. Oh my God. I love them. They're so good. I'm just using this time to just throw hardcore bands at you for like an hour and just see what sticks.
Hey, I like it. Don't get me wrong. It's different. Like I said, like I like different music choices that like people have. Like if you send me a song and if it catches my ear, I'll enjoy it and I'll start looking up the band. That's how I work.
Yeah, and I saw you going for the fade. I'm like, no, give me 2 more seconds, 2 more seconds, 2 more seconds.
Yeah, listen, I don't care about copyright anymore when it comes to putting stuff on YouTube.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because like unless I start making money on YouTube, then I'll care about the copyright.
Yeah.
Because I see with Joe Rogan, he does that. Like he doesn't put music on YouTube. Mm-hmm. He'll put it all on Spotify, which is fine.
Yeah. I mean, copyright and all that stuff is so tricky. I mean, even the guys over at Preston and Steve, they post their podcasts on streaming services, but they're so limited in what they can include from the live broadcast in comparison.
Yeah.
And I learned that going to Monco because I was doing my student radio show, and I did my capstone project, like my final thing, was about music, and someone was like, "Oh, like, could you include songs in it?" And the professor was like, "Well, no." And I was like, "Well, why not?" And then I was like, "We can do it at Monca Radio," and he's like, "Because you guys are protected by copyright law that you can just throw whatever songs you want on a student radio station." He goes, "The moment that you start putting stuff on YouTube and you put those songs in there," he's like, "something bad's gonna happen." And I was like, "Okay," so that's stuck with me ever since.
So I could just say I work on the radio and we have rights.
See, now you're thinking, now you're cheating the system.
Yeah, that's how. I mean, they don't know, and then if they do
you
know,
see my staff badge? Do you see that I work at a radio station?
Yeah.
I can do this.
Yeah, honestly, I think I could do it. I have rights. I got a lawyer. I got a few lawyers. My aunt, she used to be a big time lawyer in D.C. and there's this one time where she told me she had to go to Afghanistan for, I think, where was it, Iraq? It was one of the countries. She had to go there, and she had blonde hair. She had to dye her hair brown and wear like the
hijab.
Yeah, and walk around and train the lawyers up there.
And how long ago was this?
This was like, I don't know, like maybe 10 years ago, maybe a little less.
I was to say, even just that short amount of time, from now, is still significant. I mean, I don't know if how familiar you are with the Middle East at all, just overall, but like Saudi Arabia, they're only just now loosening up so many restrictions and kind of going against a lot of things that have existed for a long time. I mean, I'm pretty sure up until maybe a couple of years ago, women still weren't allowed to go in public alone. Yeah. And I might be wrong. Maybe they're still not allowed to, but that's just how much it's changing after so many years.
Well, so she was in a car, like a bulletproof and bomb-proof car, and she had to have a gun on her at all times.
I believe it. Yeah.
But there's this other YouTube channel I watched, TFIL. They went to Afghanistan because he's trying to complete every country, like go to every country from A to Z, and Afghanistan was the first country that started with A.
Oh yeah.
And what he was filming, they were so many restrictions. They had to put their camera down and turn it off when they were going through checkpoints. The Taliban was still there.
Have you seen the Vice documentary about North Korea?
No.
Same vibe. It's so eerie. Like, they were allowed to film like getting on buses and traveling around, but their restrictions were a lot looser. But the problem is that I think then North Korea compensated because then they said a lot of things look set up.
Yeah.
Like, there's people they go through an office building. They're not doing anything on their computers. They're just opening up tabs and just like going like this, like moving their mouse back and forth. They're not doing a single thing.
North Korea scares me.
There's a lot that scares me, and North Korea is up there.
So, fun fact about that, you know the show Jackass, right?
Yeah, of course.
Bam Margera, Ryan Dunn.
Yeah.
They
go to North Korea.
They went to North Korea.
When did they go to North Korea?
This was probably in 2005 or 2006.
So it would have been what, like Jackass 2 or 3?
Yeah, but so they were doing the Gumball Rally, which is like a big race car event.
Yeah.
Around the world in 8 days. Anyways, Kim Jong-un's dad, he was a big fan of sports cars, so he let everybody in.
It's nice. I'm fascinated by Kim Jong-il being a car enthusiast.
Yeah, he was a big car enthusiast, so he let them in, and Bam was just going through Pagwan or whatever it's called, just skateboarding. And people were like, "Who is this man like doing this?" But Bam and Dunn, they were saying on their radio show back then, they were like, "Look, when we got to North Korea, you were highly guarded. You could only go in certain areas, and at 7:00, the town just shuts off. It's complete black."
Yeah,
and
they also have a lot of things like that visitors have to do.
Yeah.
Obviously now it's Kim Jong Il and Kim Il Sung, but back. Well, I don't know what they would have done back then, but nowadays with those two, with Il Sung and Jong Il, you have to like go to their statue and like thank them.
Yeah.
And basically do what's a prayer.
Yeah.
Like that is how cult of personality it is.
And if you don't do that, you go to jail.
Yeah.
Or could be
absolutely, yeah. I mean, me personally, I like to think the movie The Interview is pretty accurate as to what would happen if we managed to sabotage North Korea, but no.
Did you hear about that? Because that brings me to a good point for the next guest. But like, did you hear about what happened when the interview came out?
Yes, I was like a 14-year-old obsessed with movies at the time. I was like right there as it was all happening.
Like, we were thinking World War III was going to happen.
Yeah, and it was all because it was a leak. That's what did it, was the fact, because I think the trailer hadn't even come out yet, and they leaked that this movie was happening, and that's how, again, going back to the superhero stuff, that's how back in the day everyone found out about all the stuff that Sony was planning to do with the Spider-Man movies.
Yeah.
Because, like, you know, they're trying to, like, cause an international incident, and there's nerds like me who are like, oh my god, they're making a Sinister Six movie?
Do you think that's still happening?
Oh, they just announced, or at least it's being rumored right now, that they're canceling all the future Sony exclusive movies.
Yeah.
The only one that I think is still on the table is the third Spider-Verse movie. But yeah, Kraven just came out. It made like $4 million in its opening weekend. The last Venom movie bombed. Madam Web bombed. Morbius bombed. So apparently Sony is finally coming to their senses after 30 years of owning the Spider-Man IP and either planning to sell it back to Marvel eventually, or just going to what their live action deal is with the MCU and just saying, you guys do everything and we'll just profit off of it.
Yeah. They should just give it back to Marvel.
They really should.
Honestly.
The problem is that I think Spider-Man by itself is in the top 20 most profitable media franchises in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of iffy stuff there, which, by the way, that is an extremely fascinating list if you go through, because you'd be surprised by who's in, like, the top 15.
Do you think they're still going to make, like, Spider-Man 4 and, like, with Tom Holland 4, 5, and 6?
The rumor right now is there is a Spider-Man 4 and Tom Holland's production company is involved.
Okay.
So from what it seems like, it's a very hands-on project for him.
Oh, okay.
And my hope is that if Sony's canceling all their plans, that they skip over King Black storyline, they skip over all the multiverse crap they were going to do with Spider-Man 4, and just go back to the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, bring Scorpion in, do something, that Kingpin, just do what people want. Stop trying to make Avengers Endgame again. Just do something people want.
Yeah, and my whole problem with the Spider-Man series, Tobey Maguire was great. Andrew Garfield I thought was great. Tom Holland was good, but every movie with Tom Holland, there was always somebody from the Marvel universe. Like Iron Man was in the first one.
So I have a theory about that, kind of, because it's a Sony Marvel co-production. In my personal opinion. Because you also look at, right, because there's Michelle instead of MJ, there's Ned instead of, like, Harry or Eddie. What my theory is that because Marvel, and because Sony did, if you recall, Sony backed out of the deal. They made the first couple MCU Spider-Man movies, and then the deal fell through. Like, it just ended, and they weren't going to renew it, but they did within, like, a month. My theory is Marvel was trying to put their stamp on the Spider-Man property so hard, with referencing the Avengers and the other heroes showing up, that if Sony decided to go back to just doing it themselves and making a third or second movie, they would have been screwed.
Yeah.
Because they can't legally reference anything. Marvel can. Sony can't.
Oh.
The way those deals work is Sony wouldn't be able to reference the Avengers. They couldn't reference Iron Man. You'd have to cut all of that out.
Wow.
Yeah. And so my theory is that Marvel has been doing that on purpose this entire time.
I just think Spider-Man should be a standalone character like Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire.
I think Spider-Man works for both, mostly because, like, if you look in the comics, he's pretty much standalone, but every once in a while he has to team up with the Avengers, and usually he's the one that's like, yeah, I'm just doing this because I have to, not because I want to.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. You look at Peter Parker as a character, lower middle-class New Yorker, he does not care about, big companies, and
money.
Doesn't care for anything. He doesn't care for like making extreme profit. He's a man of the people.
Yeah.
He's not the first one that's gonna like stand with the institution kind of thing.
Wow. I did not know that.
That's just my critical analysis of Spider-Man as a character.
Well, there you go.
A working man superhero.
I could see that. But actually brings me back to my guest number one. Best interview of 2024. So this guy, his name is Jason Martinez. He's been on the show before. He was on the show 4 years ago. Then he came back on the show in 2020. Or I'm sorry. Let me back up a little bit. Jason Martinez came on the show in 2019, 2018, one of those years. He came back in 2018.
In the before times.
Yeah, I can't remember. Anyway, so 2018.
Before the pandemic afflicted all of us.
It's before the pandemic.
That was 2019.
Yeah. So he came back 2018. We did a show together. Then he came back in 2020 during the pandemic. And then 4 years later, he finally returned. Cool thing about Jason Martinez, though, he actually filmed with the Jackass guys.
Really?
Yeah, he filmed with Bam's crew for 5 years or however long they did the show, filmed with the Jackass guys. And he pretty much was saying, like, all right, well, it's been like so many years, like 20, 30 years since the show's premiered. It was 20 years. I want to have a reunion with these guys in Westchester. And he was planning on coming down to Westchester to do a reunion with Bam and the whole crew.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I picked him as number one, just because he's a filmographer. He filmed for a lot of shows for MTV.
I was saying, so he was production. He wasn't like in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was all production, but he filmed a lot of stuff for MTV, a couple reality shows. But he has to go to these places every month, leave his wife and kids for a few months just to film.
Yeah.
And I respect that. Like, that's something I really want to do. Like, filming is probably like the biggest.
You want to leave your wife and kids behind for a few months? Me too.
Yeah. No, but you know, he has to do what he has to do. He has to go and live somewhere for a few months and film with them.
Yeah, of course.
And then that's how he makes his money. That's why I picked him as number one, just because filming is his passion and he did so many cool projects. That's why, you know, that's why me and him get along. We did about an hour and 25 minutes for his interview.
Have you met, since you're from, or since you live in Westchester, have you met any of the Jackass guys beyond
One of them.
Jason? Who was it?
So, you know Rab himself?
Who was it?
Chris Rab.
Chris Rapp. I think so, yeah.
Rab, he was on my podcast.
Oh, okay, so you
Yeah,
have. Okay,
yeah.
cool, yeah.
And then
My brother-in-law's from Westchester, so he's met Dunn, and I think he met Dunn when he was a little older, but he met Margera when he was like a kid.
Really?
Yeah.
I also met one of the filmographers for Jackass.
And one of my Monco professors, his wife went to high school with them.
Really?
So they were all part of the same friend group, and it's funny because like when I met her, you know, she's like this like 5 foot extremely nice lady, and then he's like, oh, you should have met her when I met her. He was like, you know, she was a spiky spiked green haired cigarette smoking punk that hung out with the Jackass kids. Like they would go skateboarding together. I'm like, what? That woman? No way.
I mean, it's cool though, just to think like, you know, I live in a town where all this stuff happened.
Yeah.
And like I rewatched the show and just to see landmarks of Westchester, I'm like, oh, I've been there. Like Kildare's, they've been to Kildare's on the show, and I'm like, I drink there from time to time.
There's a guy named Anthony Green. I forget his primary band, but he's also the frontman for a supergroup called LS Dunes. I had listened to LS Dunes early Monco years. I put their songs on my student radio show. I'm at the YMCA in Doylestown, which is where I live. I don't work out there anymore. I work out at the Edge in Warrington, but I'm at Doylestown YMCA, and I see this guy, and I'm not paying attention to people around me. I used to work at Wawa. Now I see this guy again, and one of my coworkers goes, "You know who that is?" I go, "No," and then he goes, "Oh, that's Anthony Green." And I'm like, "Okay," because I didn't know who the frontman of LS Dunes was. I just knew the band LS Dunes. And he goes, "Oh, he's the singer of this band. Look it up." So I look it up, and I see LS Dunes, and I go, "There's no freaking way that this guy lives like in my neighborhood." But yeah.
Yeah, it's
Philly itself is like such a massive media hub, and then you go into the suburbs and like you just see everyone.
You know, M. Night Shyamalan used to lives right around the corner from a car dealership I used to work at.
Yeah, pretty much almost every Shyamalan movie is in Philly or Philly adjacent in some way. The entire Unbreakable trilogy is just all in Philly.
I got to drive his daughter's car. She drove a Jeep Renegade, and Jason Kelsey's truck.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That's cool.
I never met Jason Kelsey. I would like to have him on eventually.
Dude, everyone around here has been trying to get Kelsey to do stuff.
Yeah. But I think that would be cool just to have Kelsey on my show.
Yeah, for sure.
But no, in any event though, Jason Martinez, nice guy, happy dude, very very polite, very cordial, and you know, filmed with the Jackass guys, and he said, look, like filming with them was very interesting because you know how they are.
They're getting tased and they got their nuts hanging out all the time. Yeah, it'd be quite the workplace.
There's actually a story I asked them about. It's on YouTube. So there's this producer named Bruce, and Bam, Dunn, and a few other of his friends pushed Bruce's rental car into the sliding glass doors of his rental apartment.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And then they ran away, and then they had a lawsuit. And I was like, I asked Jason, I said, were you there for that? He said, no, I wasn't there for that, but I heard about it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's on YouTube. You could actually see clearly those guys pushing Bam's Hummer into
Yeah.
the car into an apartment.
Oh my God.
It was pretty bad. I mean, but anyways, yeah, he's number one on my list. So the top 5, those were my top 5 interviews of 2024. And like I said, there's a lot of other interviews I did over the year, and you know I want to thank them as well, like Brooklyn, who was a radio host, and then Will Wesley, and a few others, Andre Joseph, you know, just a whole bunch of them.
It's a good group.
Yeah, I mean, there's more to come in 2025, but
Well, how long have you been doing this show for now?
it will be 10 years next June.
It sounds like I have 10 years of podcasts to catch up on.
Yeah, it started on YouTube, then the Facebook, then to
The Facebook.
the Facebook. I don't even do Facebook anymore. Like, I just post my show on there just because I have a page. But
Right. Yeah.
yeah, 10 years of nothing but, you know, talking whatever and interviewing people.
That's the career model that I want to follow. People used to ask me, they're like, "Oh, what's so enticing about radio?" I'm like, I get to talk.
Yeah.
I get to run my mouth for a few hours. I'm like, why wouldn't I want to do that?
Yeah, exactly. You could talk about whatever, honestly.
Yeah,
I mean, hey, it is what it is.
exactly.
But thank you for producing, and now I could tell our boss that, you know, you did pretty well.
Please
Will do. Will do. Well, that's going to wrap up today's show. I hope you enjoy this. Now, tomorrow, we are going to be doing the year in review. My friend John the Ninja is coming on, and we're going to do a year in review together.
Can I politely ask, is he actually a ninja?
No.
Darn it!
No, actually, so if you listen, so John's been on the show many times. He did the 500th episode with me, and we've done a lot of shows together. But he actually used to work for Street Team.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, that's how we know each other.
Is that how he got the name the Ninja?
I don't know where he got the name from. I got to ask him that. I forget. He told me like years ago, but because I interviewed him.
No, maybe he's skilled.
Maybe
he's the one that's darting around, taking out, you know, feudal lords and everything like they used to.
Yeah, but he's an awesome guitar player, though.
Okay.
Like he'll post videos of him playing the guitar. Like let's say he has Metallica on the TV.
Yeah.
And like he just like plays a solo of a Master of Puppets, like something like that. That's what he does. And then he does interviews as well. He actually has interviewed a couple wrestlers, interviewed a few people that were in, you know, movies and stuff, musicians.
Not very ninja-like, but I think that's still cool.
He has connections. Connections. Let's just put it that way.
Gotcha.
So I have a few connections I got to run up on. But anyways, yeah, that's going to wrap up today's show. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, like on Spotify, Google Podcast, A3 Media on YouTube. And yeah, that's really it. I'll see you guys tomorrow. So bye. 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 Bye.